Hello, everybody, and welcome to another amazing episode of the Grief Let's Talk About It podcast. You guys know who it is. This is Tony Lynch. I'm the host of this podcast. And yes, we are your number one podcast for bringing you stories around death, down, and grief, and all the messiness that comes in between, but some amazing people out here changing people's lives one heartbeat at a time. Now, before I bring on my next guest, I would like to say, if this is your first time tuning in, do me a favor, head on over to that YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification, so you'll be notified every time that we drop a new episode. But most importantly, before I bring on my next guest, I would like to say that this is a live stream. And so if you have any questions or comments, put them in the comments section. And of course, I got to remind you, this is for educational purposes only. Now, without further ado, help me welcome my next guest, Haley, to the show. Haley, how you doing?
Hello, I'm doing wonderful. And yourself?
I am doing amazing. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's such a pleasure.
Man, I'm excited. I'm excited to have the conversation with you today, right? We was talking, it was like, wow, like this is going to be a very wild conversation between the both of us. Like, it's going to be a lot of fun, but you got an amazing journey. Now, before we jump into your journey, introduce yourself to the audience. Tell people who you are, where you're from, and about the work that you do.
Yeah, so I'm Haley Mazanec. I am from the Bay Area up in Northern California. I came down to LA when I was 21 to conquer my dreams, and life got a bit crazy after my first year in LA, and that's really where my story began and flourished in so many different avenues through life and hardship and whatnot. But I wrote a book that's going to be launching soon called Three Strikes Can't Take Me Out. I pursue acting and modeling, and even bring my dog into the mix in the film industry. But my book is something that I'm so excited to share with the world and want to inspire and share my vulnerability.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. And just for the record, guys, before we got up here, Haley tried to get me to dance. I told her I got my hips don't move like that. And she was like, "You can do it, Tony." And then, but we ain't gonna get into that. But there was some two choice words that she had for me that I can't really repeat on the show. Okay. No, guys, I'm just playing. So Haley, let's take us on your journey through your life.
Yeah. My book, my life, it really began when I met the love of my life, someone that I fell madly head over heels for. And this man also was an addict that came out clean about it in the beginning. And my 22 young and naive self did not know how to comprehend that, and also didn't really see a problem. And then things took a wild turn and some toxic traits came out. Some addiction came into our relationship, and weathered a 2-year storm of heroin addiction and lots of withdrawals and detoxes, and led into some criminal activity, and also fled that relationship in due time, and started all over again from the bottom up, moved to San Diego, tried to just breathe and enjoy life and feel like a normal human being after addiction and withdrawals and all that. And things just kept spiraling in different directions. I also had a time period 2 years ago where I had extremely rare cancer that I was diagnosed with and was thrown into surgery. It was a pancreatic cancer, a very rare tumor called neuroendocrine. And that was yet again another moment that just completely stormed into my life like a hurricane and pulled me down, and really just took over my well-being and flipped my world upside down. And in so many different ways too. I also did a lot of healing, a lot of work on myself, and filled myself with knowledge and meditations and spirituality that led me into the person I am today that I'm really proud of.
Amazing. You said some things, and I want to just clarify some things because you said that you had multiple times of withdrawals. So you relapsed a few times?
Yeah. So during our 2-year addiction, we also worked together at a restaurant, and
Okay.
we kind of set it up. I finally just put my foot down when our finances and everything was just disappearing like crazy. And I put my foot down and I was like, hey, like, let's kick this. Like, we need to detox. We need to get out of this. Like, this is not the life for us. And so we attempted, we failed. We attempted, we failed. And we did that a good 20 times over at least.
Oh.
And it was the most excruciating agonistic pain of my life.
Yeah, well, I
But
can
yeah.
only imagine, I can only imagine because I've known people who wasn't so fortunate, right? Especially when you think about heroin. They say heroin is the hardest thing to kick. And there's people that compare that to quitting cigarettes as well. And so I want to say thank you for being able to overcome that and being part of the best part of the statistics of people that overcome these things. Because wow, you hear those stories. And then I look at you and I'm like, yeah, right. Haley wasn't out there doing that. Looking so innocent. So you remind me of my sister Anna. Like she looks so innocent, but we know she ain't innocent. She's over here, mocking me right now on Instagram.
That's what the judge said too.
Yeah, like that's okay. That's okay. Yeah, I'm calling everybody out. Y'all ain't so innocent. Y'all. I've heard the stories. Okay. But so your criminal activity. Can we talk about that a little bit? Unless you're on probation or something.
I'm an open book. Yeah.
Okay. Can we talk about some of the criminal activity that you was involved in? Because I want people to know, and I give people a hard time. But we all know that it doesn't discriminate against no one. Okay, it really doesn't. So, what sort of criminal activity was you involved in? Oh, hold on. You're not perfectly angelic. I've heard the stories, right? I've heard the rumors. Plus, you over there talking, I'm perfectly angelic. No, you wasn't. I've had you on my show before. You forget we talked.
Well, in this case, I truly felt like I was at the time. So I still kept my job, but my ex lost his job. He reunited with someone who already had 6 felonies under his belt loop, and also an addict. Yeah, also an addict of heroin and crack for the last 6 years. And the moment I met him, it was the one time in my life that I ever felt like demanding. And I was like, this is not the person that you need to continue seeing. Like, I do not want you seeing this person again. Like, he is just only going to drag you to hell right with him. And that didn't stop him, didn't stop us. And so we ended up getting back into the addiction game. But this guy, he did not have a job, and I feel like he was living off mommy and daddy's money and living freely, but also a drug addict. And for him to get his money, he would go around to flea markets and Home Depots, all those kind of tool shops in the Midwest, and steal tools and sell them for drug money. And so my ex, once he lost his job, he pretty much followed his lead, and those two would gang up together and go to different Home Depots or whatnot to steal tools and resell them for money. And me at that time, I was a completely different person, taken away by the demonic heroin drug. And I didn't want to be alone. I wanted to be with him. I also wanted to be with heroin. And so I started going along for the ride, not knowing that I'm a party to a crime. And I would just sit in the car, mind my own business, and they would do their thing. And that was that. But the cherry on top of it all was the moment they decided that they wanted to go steal copper and tools from a hotel construction site. And yeah, and the way that it went down was there was one night specifically where they wanted to go just observe the site. I went along with them with my dog and just sat in the car. And we parked in this spot where right in front of us, you see nothing but big bushes and trees. And it's so compact that like the moment you step in the bushes, you can't even see anything past that. And so they stepped it through the bushes. They were gone within a blink of an eye. And I waited for so many hours until they finally came back. And then the next night, early in the morning, they decided to go do their duty and go back to the site. And I stayed at this guy, Joe's apartment, and just watched TV until I fell asleep, waiting for them to get back. And so when they came back in the morning, my ex woke me up, and then they were going to the car to remove all the items that they stole. And my ex's friend, Joe, the mastermind guy that I like to refer to, he was like yelling at me and antagonizing me, like, grab the shit out of the car and whatever. And so I grabbed one bag, not knowing what it was. And, you know, they're putting things in the garage. And then the next thing you know, Joe starts getting suspicious and feeling like cops are showing up, and they're looking out windows, and I'm freaking out. I'm like, I don't know what to do. Like, they're just, he's just like, this is just speculation. We don't even see anything. And then the next thing you know, my ex was like, hey, take Mocha, my dog, with me to the car, and like, we'll leave in a moment. So I leave and start going to the car. I see a secret cop car show up. Detectives all get out of the car. One of them races over to me. Are you Haley? I was like, yeah. And he's like, okay, well, you're just a witness. Like, we're really after Joe. And I'm like, okay. So I'm just hanging out and just waiting patiently until they finally capture the guys. And they take us in, interview us, and my young and naive self, again, just spilled the beans, didn't hold anything back. I didn't know any better. And it was also kind of like my plea to like save me, because I was just such a mess. I was a completely different person, and I really just wanted out. My intuition spoke to me before all this criminal activity went down that something really bad is going to happen. And I was even the little boy who cried wolf. And I'm like, Mom, something really bad is going to happen. And I wasn't telling her the full story and owning up to my own responsibility in the mess. But one thing led to another, and then everything just blew up in our faces. My parents got a call from the detective. The detective himself, I feel like, had a soft side for me because his daughter's name was Haley. So he was kind of going back and forth from being actual detective doing his job, and then also like father figure, like, you need to leave this man, like, he is no good for you. And he saw my innocence through all my heavy tears and crying, and he made a deal with my mom that if he took me out of Wisconsin, that he would drop all charges, and he did. However, because the guys were stealing in different counties, we got booked in 2 different police county stations. And even though my charges were all dropped at the one station where we got interviewed at, the other one we were still charged with burglary. And so I did have to go to court for that. And luckily they docked it down to 2 misdemeanors, but that's my record now.
You know, it happens to the best of us.
Yeah.
You know, and here's the crazy part. I want to get your thoughts on this, right? because I talk about this a lot with people. A lot of times we look at the direction or the path that we've been on, and we often kick ourselves in the butt because of the way that it happened, the things that happened to us, the decisions that we made, no matter, the bad ones as well, right?
Yeah.
And I've gotten to a point in my life where I can look back on my life, all the things that I've done. And I'm no innocent person. I've done my fair share of wrong in this world. Now, I say that to say this, because had I not made those decisions, I don't think I would be the individual that I am today. The path that I was on, as crazy as it may look to one person, I would not change it for the world, because I still ended up where I needed to be, right? With the lessons and the wisdom that I now have, I'm able to take that and help other people. So, for those out there that may be thinking to themselves, wanting to criticize, think about this. Who were you, right? You know what I'm saying? Who were you on your path? And what gives you the right to judge the people for the path that they've walked? Nothing, right? You know what I'm saying? Just because it doesn't look the way that you want it to doesn't mean that it was the wrong path. That I don't believe in right or wrong energy, right? I believe that the choices that we make we were meant to make in order to do the things that we do. Because there's a simple fact of, look, you wrote a book.
Right?
Yeah. And you look at the person that you are today. That's beautiful.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way. I honestly wouldn't change a single thing, negative or positive, in my life, because I love who I am today, and all those ups and downs, especially the downs, have just really tested my capabilities and my strength and my mentality, just my spirit, everything. Like, it definitely took me a long time to step out of the victim mindset. But then I started noticing how empowered I felt for my own self just by talking about it and sharing and, releasing and healing. It's so important.
I want to ask a question, right? Because there's a lot of, identity displacement, you know what I'm saying, if you will. And what I mean by that, because I'm listening to you, and it's like, the versions of yourself, you never really identified yourself, right? You know what I'm saying? There was, there's a lot of trying to figure out who Haley is until Haley found herself, right?
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is that most of us will go through life and will take on other people's identity, other people's addictions, and we will build ourselves around what they expect us to be.
Yeah.
Instead of really saying, no, this is who I am as an individual. And then begin to work on the authenticity of who you are. Right?
Yeah.
So, and I want to get your thoughts on that, because it sounds like there was a lot of that, coming from addiction and, being involved in the criminal activities and having to go to jail and all of these different things. There was, I want to get your thoughts on that. What are your thoughts on the displacement of your identity?
Oh my gosh. I know for myself, I have gone through so many different identities. At that time, heroin to me was like subconsciously a vessel to get closer to my husband's heart. I married him right before all the criminal activity. And to me, once I saw how he just opened up and his anger was no more, and he can just be open and free with his words and his heart, like, to me, it was a vessel to get closer to him. And it was something we had together, essentially. And then it became us against the world and, trying to stick together with it. So my identity then was completely gone. It was so far gone that it was almost like this time around with heroin, we added crack to the mix and just got so much more crazy. But like, I just completely lost my identity. Like, I was a completely different person. I didn't know who I was anymore. And I know when I came out of that and I got shipped back to California from Wisconsin, you know, it was a lot at once because my parents all just found out at the same time and brand new as well, and to everything that happened. But I also came out of that saying, like, you know what, like, I should write a book about my life. I can't believe this even happened to me. Like,
Right.
this is insane. But like, you know, I was a completely different person then. I was more of a people pleaser, and you know, and that was me, you know, sailing wherever my husband was going. Like, I was completely madly for this man, and my identity was very much pleasing and loving the shit out of this man.
Right.
No matter how fucked up it was at the end.
Look, I get it. I do get it because I think there's people out there that can relate to that as well. You know, I don't think I could ever. I don't think I could relate to it because I've never seen myself in that position before. I've always been a loner, you know. But I was toxic too. You know what I'm saying? I was the type of person. I was the type of guy who like, yeah, no, I would cut you off, you know, and leave it. But I wouldn't give you any sort of explanation or anything like that for the fact of I didn't think I ever owed anyone that. And so in the turn, I was very destructive. Like I didn't care about how people felt. I didn't care about what they thought, and you know, and because I guess there was a side of me. Now, this is the side, and I want to get your thoughts on this. There was a side of me that was always afraid of being hurt. Like, and the reason being is because people taught me this. Like, the more I used to let people into my life, and they used to try to do some really crazy stuff to me, and I used to look at them and go, "Don't get mad when I get you back." And you're like, I'm going to get you back, right? You know what I'm saying? So don't get mad because I'm going to go too far, okay? And so, you know, it got to a point to where I had trust issues. I didn't. I had a lot of trust issues. Nowadays, I just pay attention to people, you know, and people don't understand that a lot of times they need to hold a mirror up to themselves and hold themselves accountable for what they do, right?
Yeah.
Instead of thinking about why did this happen, ask yourself, what role did you play in it?
Yeah.
Because look, I'm old enough now to where I would look at a situation and go, I don't understand why you would do this, but I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to walk away, and when I do, I'm going to wash my hands in it. I'm
Yeah.
just going to wash my hands. But that's just me again being cautious. I went from being afraid of letting people get close to me to just not caring if people did. And you know, and my identity, right? My identity was wrapped into someone who's always been a survivor, right? And people have heard me say this before. I was always known as a battle dog. So I could not envision my life without being in some sort of war. Had I not joined the gangs, I probably would have joined the military. I probably would have still been on deployment, to be honest with you. I did because it's you know, sometimes it's embedded in a person to need some sort of war to be fighting,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And sounds like with yourself too, right? You know what I'm saying? Because here you have this guy, this really toxic guy that you head over heels for, that you became his ride or die,
Yeah.
right? Through thick and thin. So it's the same concept, just in a different perspective.
Oh, it definitely is. And that was my biggest problem. I mean, I feel like I was toxic in ways too. Like, that was my biggest problem is I couldn't take accountability for myself at all. Like, even just normal relationship kind of issues or conversations, it's like he kind of gave me tough love, but he also gave me nurturing love until, I didn't wake up and understand that I needed to take responsibility for my own actions too. But then it got twisted too in a weird way because afterwards, after the whole situation and we were split, he always we would talk, and he was always like, blame it all on me. Like, this was all my fault. I caused so much pain for you, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's all his fault kind of thing. And that's how I carried it. I carried the weight and just put it all on him. And I was like, it's all his fault. He did this to me. Like, why did this happen to me? Like, why did, asking all these questions. And, it wasn't until a few years later when I really started putting in the work for myself, and my life started developing all over again, the second chance at life, that I was like, you know what? Like, blaming him isn't doing any justice for me. It's just like, I need to actually take the responsibility for myself and where I went wrong. Like, not only in just a relationship lens, but also with the addiction and the drugs and even the criminal activity. Like, I felt like I was wrongfully convicted, and I did get pulled into the mess because of hanging out with these two men. But at the same time, like, I should have known better. I could have done my own research to know that, hey, I was a party to a crime just by sitting in the car, and I didn't even know it until the detective had to tell me to my face, like, Haley, you were a party to a crime. Like, you are wrong in this as well. And it's like, and that's when I needed all that to happen to just wake up and really like put that mirror up to my own face and change my life for the better as well. It's, we're all we have in this world,
Right.
like, I only have my
self-reflection.
Yeah.
It's a reflection of self, right? And but you said something that when you said it, it really hit me in my heart, because I've done it so many times, right? And it's a phrase that you may have heard in a movie before, right? And it is from the Joker. And he goes, I will play the victim in your world in order for you to become the better version of yourself.
Oof.
Now, it gets even deeper, because I heard something, and like I said, when you said it, it really touched on me. So it touched on me very deeply. And I still do this to this day. I love you so much that I'm willing to be the bad guy in your story. So it will be easier for you to let me go.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And some people don't understand that statement. And as you was talking about him saying it was my fault, and things like that, and I listened to what you said afterwards, right? He did exactly that. It wasn't that he didn't care. He cared a lot. He cared enough to let you go.
Yeah.
By taking the blame, by having you blame him, so he can be the villain in your story.
Yeah.
That is crazy. That is truly crazy.
It is. And and like, in retrospect of the whole situation, him in my book being a big main character besides myself, it's like, he was, I talked about him as the villain, and he is a villain, but at the same time, he truly is such a wonderful person. And that's why I stuck with him. And my people pleasing skills at that time was like, my intuition, like, I knew he was my forever. I knew like he was the person I wanted to have a family with and live happily ever after with. First time and only time I've ever experienced this. So I really poured all of me onto him. But he was a magnificent human being. Like, he was very charismatic. We were laughing all the time, like always being goofy. He gave me the golden standard for a relationship and what it's like to feel love. Like, he really did, no matter how toxic things got, how fucked up things ended up. Like, he he really set the standard for me. He was an amazing person, but he also had that fiery, nasty side at that point. And it's two different sides to this man, but I can say the last time I spoke to him, he's a completely changed person and living his best life now. So I'm very, very proud and happy for him. But at that time, yeah, like it was kind of nice because when I went to court too, he wanted to make amends and help me with getting to court, supporting me and all that. And we were able to really just open up and talk. And, he's like, I know I was a monster to you. Like, I'm so sorry. And like, we had that genuine apologetic moment of really just opening up and saying sorry and actually having the closure that I really needed for many years that I never got. Because I when I did get shipped back to California, it was so abrupt. And it was after like a 3-4 day detox where I dropped a good 30-40 pounds. And then I didn't even get to say goodbye. So that part was like a whole nother experience of just not getting that closure.
There's a lot of grief that comes on in there. I could hear it, as you were speaking. Like, it's the grief of the loss of that relationship, the grief of not saying goodbye, the grief of who you were versus who you're becoming.
Yeah.
And the people that affected you, but the people that you affected yourself, right? Can we talk about the grieving process of going through that and making amends?
Yeah,
Right?
definitely.
What are your thoughts on that? Because grief is one of those things I've become very, very familiar with. And it's like an attachment for me, right?
Yeah.
Because it's a teacher. It's my teacher, right? Grief is my biggest mentor, and the best love of my life, right? It's the one thing that I can always depend on, as crazy as it may sound, because it's honest, it's true, right?
Yeah.
And it's humbling through humiliation, but it's strength through resilience and vulnerability. It's a very deep connection that you can have with another human being
Yeah.
in this world. So, what was the grieving process like for you?
Honestly, it was very brutal. I mean, I've had several long-term relationships, but this man, I call him Gray Knight in my story, which is a nickname that I gave him at an earlier time in our relationship, and it just stuck with it. So it was perfect. But Gray Knight, he was like he was my one true love. Every other relationship I learned just from being with Gray Knight that like he was it. He was just like the epitome of love for me and all that comes with it. And with every other relationship, I usually could just cry after a few weeks and I bounce back no problem. But with this man, because of everything we've gone through, I had the weirdest reaction, honestly, where I felt his spirit with me at all times for the whole first year. The whole first year being apart from him, I was in San Diego. I just felt his spirit always with me, like every step of the way, watching me, being with me. And it was the weirdest feeling. And then I remember New Year's Eve, like going into New Year's Day, I'm like making my resolutions and I'm just like putting it out in the universe, like, please, like, let his spirit just like vanish. Like, let me just move on. Let me get past this and just be free, feel free. And it was, I feel like it was kind of in and out too on the second year, but I I went through the biggest emotional roller coaster yet. And I definitely used that time as well to drink more than I normally ever do. I've never really been a big drinker, but my whole first year, I coped with it by drinking. a few nights a week. And it was also the friends I had. They were big drinkers. And so it just kind of all worked out. But I just, I mean, we talked here and there and stuff, but like, I cried more than I've ever cried before. I mean, with him and not getting that closure, I think was the hardest part about separating from him, because I didn't feel like I got that closure. And even when I saw him in Wisconsin for a court date, it's like it was like the biggest sense of home once I saw him. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like how can I experience this? How can I feel this way about him after everything, you know? Like
Right.
it's such a psychological twist. And then you know, because like I started learning about the ins and outs of psychopaths and that umbrella term to all those toxic types of people and traits and behaviors. So I started learning the ins and outs of all that and where I went wrong and, you know, how he influenced me. And I learned too, like, you know what, I'm trauma bonded to this man. Like with everything we've been through, I'm simply trauma bonded to him, and it will be that way forever. Like that. I think it's just as simple as that. And, you know, at the same time, I'm like, well, writing this book, I think was the biggest like healing that I could possibly experience from that whole part of my life, and especially with him. And by the time I was done, I relived all the moments over and over again. And it really kind of like poured into my everyday life too. Like, especially with when I started talking about the breakup, when we first had a breakup, my friend even noticed it in me, and she's like, are you grieving? Like, you look like you're heartbroken. I'm like, oh, fuck. Like, I just feel the heartbreak all over again. And it's like that with every single memory I had in this book. But by the time I was done with it, it felt so far past me that it's like, okay, now I can actually step into this new life that I have. Like, it feels brand new. I can put it all behind me. It's all in the book. It's there for the world. But now it's my turn to live my life the way I want and do right for me.
You know, as you were saying that, I was reminded of someone that I've known a long time ago, and I wasn't the best of people towards her, right? I never hurt her or anything like that, but I didn't know how to be the man that she needed me to be. And I remember telling myself or convincing myself, because I did feel something for her, but I didn't know how to express it. So me being the person that I was, I told myself, I'd rather hurt you and make you hate me than to have to tell you that I love you. Right? Like, and that's what it sounds like. It sounds crazy when you say it, but it's the truth. Right? And I think some people have the best intentions for others. But if they was to say that they had those intentions, they would be judged and criticized for their actions.
Yeah.
Now, yeah, please go ahead.
No, please go ahead. I'm listening.
Well, I was going to ask a question. You know, because you was growing, you healed, you wrote the book, and we're going to get into that. But you started acting, you changed your life all the way around, right? How did all of these other opportunities come about, right? You know what I'm saying? Because taking us through your journey of the first part of your life, I'm like, yeah, you know, okay.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of layers to it. I mean, my first year in San Diego, being away from Grey Night, for me, I took it as like, Haley, this is your second chance at life. Like, you should be dead. I had 2 near-death experiences on heroin. One of them I knew was a fentanyl overdose, but either way, it was 2 together near-death experiences that I should be dead. And when I was going through the detox, and I just told myself, like, this is your second chance at life. Like, you are literally ground zero. It's time to build up. Like, I had no car, no clothes, no belongings, really, just the clothes that were shipped with me. Luckily, I pulled my dog Mocha onto the plane with me last minute too, so I just had her and the little bits that I did have. And my friend offered to move me to San Diego, and that first year was really just like, Haley, let's just breathe. You're alive. Let's just be with nature. I went to the beach quite a bit. I went hiking quite a bit. I just really just leaned into the friend group that I created and made, and just wanted to have fun more than anything. I was like, I just need to have fun and feel alive, feel like my normal self. I need to figure out who I am again. I also went back, took a small trip to LA to visit some of my closest friends. And I'm like, I need to rediscover who I am again. And I'm like, LA is where the film industry is, where my passion lies. And if I'm around the right people, then it'll help me to kind of rediscover who I am, because I just felt so lost. I was like, who am I? Like, I really have no idea. And then I think things really kind of took a turn once it was COVID and I moved back to LA. And at that point, it was like, okay, this is a second round at LA, but now it's without Gray Knight. The whole 5 years of being in LA was all with Gray Knight. Like, every memory of us is just everywhere. Now this is my chance where I need to rewrite my narrative of living in LA, just me and Mocha, and no Gray Knight. It took me forever to even just not see Gray Knight and my dog Mocha, because she was our baby together. And it's like, I couldn't even look at her for a few weeks because all I saw was him and just all the trauma that I was just struggling from. Another big layer to it was when I jumped into a Meisner acting program for 2 years. It was honestly one of the most impulsive decisions I made. And I literally I had cancer, had my surgery, had 2 months to recover, bed rested. And right after I healed, I was like, okay, let's find me an acting class. It's time to jump back into who I am and rediscover my skill set and just flourish from there. And I found this studio called Baron Brown Studio. I signed up immediately. I felt amazing about it. And then the best part was stepping in day one, and my teacher reminded me, just like my cookie grandma Rita, where she has this Lucille Ball type of fiery character, and just loud, but like a shining force. Like, she just radiates sunshine and inspiration. And she became my mentor. I was with her for 2 years doing that Meisner program. And the Meisner program, not only would I recommend it for acting, but I recommend it for everyone, because it really is a guide to dive into your core, to your soul, and to learn all about yourself. I mean, the first year was all about repetition and just responding off of the other person and listening and engaging and watching, observing. The second year was a lot of just having fun and doing improv and starting to jump into character work. But like, it really taught me how to just let all my walls down, be as vulnerable as I can be, and to use my different emotions and different feelings and everything just come to life. And I give huge credit to my teacher, Anne Drayman. She's forever a part of my life. And, I think that was everything for me. And in that 2-year program too, I also learned how to use the like angry side of me, which is a part of me that I've never experienced before. I never felt like I had a backbone, no mean bone in my body. And I intentionally was like, Haley, you're going to learn how to use your backbone and use that angry side to you. But I meshed my acting craft in this program with all of my experience. And I just put it together very strategically. So I wasn't like living through it 100%, but like using it to my advantage. And it was honestly extremely therapeutic for me. I've spent countless days in that class crying and screaming and yelling. I mean, just using so much of my energy that I would be wiped out afterwards. But it's honestly the best feeling in the world.
Yeah, I could definitely see it in your face. And what hell of a journey. What a hell of a journey, but an amazing turnaround. So I'm pretty sure there's a lot of questions out there for my audience, but I have one for you. Do you feel now you're living the life that you were meant to live after going through the things that you've gone through?
Yes, 100%. I felt that the moment January 1st, 2024 happened. And that was after a big 6-month healing journey for myself, where I really got down and dirty with my soul and trauma and released and healed all of it, which is what it felt like. But then writing the book, all last year, it was a whole nother healing journey that just, it was just like the sprinkles on an ice cream cone, just the finishing touch to my healing journey through all that's in my book. So it's like now that it's about to come out and it's finished, I'm so thrilled to be where I'm at and just take on life by the horns in the way that I want to.
Do you got a copy of your book handy with you?
No, I don't.
Oh!
I did. I wish I did. Oh. It's still under construction. It's so close to the release date.
We got to talk about this, Haley. We got to talk about this, okay? You just can't just get us with the thirst trap, okay? You just can't be doing that. That is not right, okay? No, but tell people the name of your book and where they can find it.
It's called 3 Strikes Can't Take Me Out. It is going to be on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. It's distributed across 13 different countries around the world. It's also going in major distributors like Walmart, Target, and many more that I don't know of, but it's all that. I can definitely show a picture of the cover. So
yeah, please.
Okay, one second.
I love the picture of the book. It is freaking awesome. When I saw that artwork, I was like, ooh, that is cool.
Yeah, I am very passionate and grateful for the design of my book cover.
Yeah, it was one that you had up in the group, right? The be a guest. Yeah, that is freaking cool. I like that. And who designed that? Was that something that you put together? Because I love the way that it's very definitive, right? And and very profound the way that you did the color scheme and how you separated your face and the words that come along with it was like, wow, you know what I'm saying? Like, can't 3 strikes can't kill me, can't take me out.
Essentially.
That is. I thought that was amazing. Happy Childless Mindset. How you doing, friend? Yes, that's a cool cover. Thank you for tuning in as well. As we begin to wrap this up here, I want to ask the audience, anybody have any questions for myself or Haley before we wrap this up? Maybe, share a little bit about maybe you had that one person in your life that you was head over heels for that maybe was not the best fit for you. And, I know a lot of people can relate to that as human beings. I think we go through that more often than what most of us care to admit,
Yeah.
right? And some of us don't know how to come back from that.
Mm-mm.
And I applaud your resilience, your bravery, and your vulnerability, but also your strength in becoming the individual that you are today. Now, I have two more questions for you. One question: how can people find you?
Yeah, I think my name is right here on the screen. That is my website and my Instagram handle. First and last name, www.haleyMazanec.com, which also has all my social links and acting and all that. But my biggest hope is that the book gets released the first Tuesday of May. And that'll be the ebook launch. And then the physical copy will be 2 weeks later.
Okay.
So
I think that's too cool. And everybody, I do have her link. So if you're interested in it, go down and her links are in the YouTube channel. You can find her all of her social media handles as well. So my next question would be, if you had a superpower, what would it be?
ew. It is such an evil laugh.
Well, it's not evil. Stop it. See, this is what I be talking about right here. This is why you and I go fight. See, every time I turn around, you already made me break my hip. Now now you just over here just messing with people. Keep it up, Haley. Keep it up. I will come out to California. I will. I have no problems with doing that. Okay, okay. And I will take your dog for a walk. Yeah, for like a 4 hour walk. You won't even know where we at.
I
Yeah,
love that.
yeah. You won't even know. I'll be out there giving the dog
I'll be
treats and
shaking her
everything.
booty with you. She's an Aussie. It's all
Probably.
booty wiggles.
Probably, because I got no sense. I got no sense whatsoever. So, I wouldn't put it past me to take your dog for like a 3-4 hour walk. I really wouldn't. I would just not trust me with your dog.
Uh-oh. Well, to reel back to your question, if I had I think I would love to have a superpower to heal. I would love to heal others. Like, I,
I just got called old.
you just got called old?
I just got called old.
No way. Who is this person?
This is my little
You
sister.
are only as old as you feel. This
Oh
man
no,
is
no.
going to
See,
be here forever. His
see.
superpower is that he
Look,
is immortal.
don't say that. It gives people too much an opportunity to try to prove that point. Okay, let's not. I'm not trying to tempt nobody. No, no. And their psycho pump says, "Hey, now it's not her fault, meaning you. It's not your fault that I'm old." Hmm. Okay, just remember you said that. I will come to Canada too. Don't you tempt me. And she's already threatened to kick me in my shin a couple times. So, but I'm the one who's violent.
Oh, well, we'll go to Canada. Let's go to Canada, eh?
See, I got an accomplice. See, she's already on it. She's already on her fourth strike. She's already on her fourth strike. She was like, "We go to Canada." See how easy that was? I got an accomplice. oh, oh my God.
Take us out. We're here with purpose.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. No, that's a great laugh. An amazing journey. So now my next question would be, my next thought or your opinion. If you can leave the audience with something, what would you leave them with?
Oh my gosh. I feel like it's such a loaded question. I can go on and on forever. Um, I think some of the biggest mottos for me that helped me with healing through different avenues. I mean, something like addiction where it was in my control, but I was out of control. And then cancer where it was completely out of control for me, but I was in control as well. So it's like very opposite effects. But, not to stress over the things you can't control. As like cliche it is, it's so true. And when you can really digest that, like your mindset and spirit becomes so much more at ease. But then also just giving yourself grace. And I even tattooed that on my wrist because giving yourself grace, especially through any hardships, has been my savior. And I love spilling that onto my friends. And I mean, they've even commented it too, where it's like, Haley, I can't tell you how much you telling me to give myself grace has really just eased my spirit and mind and soul, because life is full of lessons, full of craziness, like on all sides of the spectrum. But like, if it's all about our perspective and our mindset and how we want to tackle it. Are you going to lean into, your blessings and, your accountability and who you are, or are you just going to let it drag you through the mud and, let the storm weather you and create chaos? I mean, really love yourself, give yourself grace, and, choose how you want to live your life.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. And with that being said, everybody, hopefully you guys enjoyed this conversation, had the chance to laugh, but go on this amazing journey with Haley. Please go and check her out. Pre-order your book. I know it's still in the construction stages and everything, but reach out to her and ask more questions for her. We didn't even touch on a lot of this stuff, but there's a lot of resilience there, a lot of inspiration, and a lot of things that you can put together in your own life. And so, with that being said, guys, thank you guys for tuning in for another episode of the Brief Let's Talk About It podcast. You guys know what it is. This is Tony Lynch. And as always, if this is your first time tuning in, do me a favor. Head on over to that YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification so you'll be notified every time that we drop a new episode. And most importantly, maybe these conversations aren't for you just yet. Maybe you do know somebody who could benefit from the conversations that we have. Do me a favor, share them on with them and let them know that there's people out here that care and that are out here to help and want to change their life one heartbeat at a time. Guys, this is going to conclude this episode. We're going to see you guys in the next one. Have a blessed day. And I love you.
Thank you.